Welcome to this call. This is Public Slack's call on community scientists with wastewater projects. We are recording this call and we will post the recording on the Public Lab website. So please feel free to turn off your video at this point if you prefer. Well, I'm going to put this message on the chat. I put in the chat the message anyway. Well, if you like to introduce yourself in the chat, please share your name, where are you calling from, and anything about you are looking forward to hearing today. I think that we can make this speaking if you are in agree. Well, I began. My name is Alejo Bonifacio. I'm the Water Curation Research Fellow. Well, I love all related with water, with his life forms, and I love to study and to know that there is some tools that are useful, accessible, and open that we can care these beautiful places and environments. I choose to Jeanette to continue.
Thanks, Alejo. Yeah, my name is Jeanette Lim. I'm the research manager at Public Lab, and I am calling from Bellingham, Washington. It's close to the Canadian border in the United States. And yeah, I have had the opportunity to learn a lot more about wastewater and stormwater pollution and some of the issues that are happening with different community groups far and wide. So just really looking forward to hearing about what both of you are doing on the ground with that now. And yeah, I'll hand it over to Jose.
Thanks, Jeanette. I'm Jose Quiroga. I'm from the Institute of Grassroots Monitoring of Contaminated Areas. It's a tiny organization here in Spain, and we basically do accompaniment and learning, teaching, learning with communities that are affected by polluting events, landfills or water contamination or whatever. So they can make a forensic approach to their investigations and their problems on the ground. And yes, I'm also a Public Lab organizer and unofficially, and I go by the pronoun he, him, and that's my brief presentation.
Thank you, Jose. Thank you, Jeanette. We are all here. And well, if you want to share something, to share your screen and begin your presentation, Jose, go ahead.
Thanks, Alejo. When we first talked about this meeting, well, I didn't know exactly which case or cases to talk about, and I've chosen 3 rivers or polluting events related to water and waste, but not directly wastewater, maybe, or we should precise what we understand for wastewater, because the first time I thought directly in water purifiers and how they affect their bad use or their non-use, or how they're working if they're purifying the water that comes back to the rivers. And but then I realized it's not just that kind of contamination, right? We have some work related to these plants, and tiny, to tell the truth. And the biggest investigation we've carried on together with the community involved was in the south of Spain, related to a landfill. And yeah, a little bit talking about these 2 cases. And my home here is also affected by a highly contaminated river. So I talk a little bit about these three cases and show some maps, locations, and some pictures, okay? And some tools we used to focus on these investigations. Let me share my screen. have nothing already open here, but whiteboard, wow. Desktop. Okay, you can see my screen, Zoom. Okay. You see my screen, right? I have these tiny three images here. You see in the clip, right? Can you confirm me? You can see my screen now?
Yes, I can see. Yes,
okay. Nice. All right. So
I don't. Sorry, Jose.
Yeah.
I don't hear really well. Maybe the connection. Is not so good. I'm going to turn off my phone, my microphone, and my video camera.
Super. If it still doesn't work, I can also shut my camera and we just go now with audio and the images, as I'll be showing some stuff. Okay.
Right now I hear you fine.
Super. So let me close some things here and open a little. So the first I would like to show you is our briefly our registro webpage is the place where we collect our tools and also tools that are published on the public lab. And it's a lightweight website focused on accessibility for people with low bandwidth that has no free data within the mobile phones, like here in Europe, or no, that's really cheap. But when you don't have this kind of connections, you can download big PDFs and so on. So yes, it's on Registro. Basically, I'd like to begin with this tool that is the soil. Sorry, I go to English version. The soil sampling toolkit or method. And let me open also the map where we are located now. That is, sorry, not here. Okay, doesn't matter. I live in Calafort. There is an ex-industrial colony here located at 50 kilometers from Barcelona. And basically, we are surrounded by the Anoia River. Let me go to this loading. And the Anoia River is in an area that has historically have a lot of leather and paper production. So there are a lot of industries that have been dropping a lot of waste, industrial waste to the river. And yeah, we cannot use it for growing vegetables or whatever. We cannot use it for anything right now. And we're together with a group here around the community, we have set up this Riendo Anoia. There is a game of words that is smiling, laughing, Anoia, Riendo Anoia, like becoming river, well, something a little bit magic also. And yeah, what we did 2 years ago was beginning this group that is people coming, going back and forth. I mean, there's not all a stable group we are working with. And yeah, I want to show you just the place. I'm sorry, because then we do all this job and we never show it. And yeah, what we basically did is there's a study by a Bolivian student, the thesis he did in 2005, a huge investigation in the Anoia River, and was studying the heavy metals present in the river. He did samplings in 4 areas of the river during 4 times. So he did 4 plus 4, 16 samples, and he analyzed it looking for heavy metals. During this Labora event, that was the starting point of this group, we did this tool sampling. Well, this is the place where I'm talking from. Is Calafó. This is the ex-colony, and we have the river around going up. This is also the end of the so-called red belt of Barcelona. That was industrial syndicalist resistance against fascism during the civil war. So there have been a lot of industry, a lot of syndicates, and a lot of working movement, and a lot of waste in the river, of course. And we did 2 samples, one just at Calafó, the place I'm living, and the other one in Vilanova del Camí. That was one of the points that Hermógenes used in 2005. Using this technique that I would like to show in, sorry, I'm going back just for you to know where we are located in relation to Barcelona. This is the city of Barcelona, okay? What we did was using this technique, we learned from a group of people that was using our teaching materials, and we were gathering once a week for 2 years. We've been doing this with Tabacalera. It's a contemporary culture center in Donosti. We basically did these encounters, show some tools, show some techniques, work from people, and then people decided what to investigate and what not investigate. And they wanted to make a research at the Urmea River in San Sebastian in Donosti, and they contacted a professor of the university who was doing this kind of sampling. And yeah, we've improved this. We've used this technique several times. One of them in Argentina when I knew Alejo during the pandemics. And basically what we do is, well, there's the list of materials, public lifestyle in the registro. What you need is a tube. You need to cut this tube alongside, and then you fix it again. Oh, sorry. Then you fix it again with duct tape. So you cut again your tube. You have to determine the place of the sampling, and you basically do this tool. You use this tool, the tube, heating area that has this not so hard part of the thing where so you can put it on the tube, hit it with a big hammer, and do not break the tube. So you put it inside until all the tube, if you can, and then you have to extract it. You need to prepare the samples and do a first observation of the mud, the sludge you got from there. And we're using this because in relation to wastewater, one of the things we think is water, and we see it here in the Anoia River. The river sometimes comes a little purple, sometimes comes a little green, sometimes a little yellow, and part of these metals and part of these compounds and toxic compounds goes to the bottom of the river. And when the river goes up, the water also goes through areas that then are not flooded. So you can go there and extract this mud. And after opening the tube, you need to make an observation and annotate if you see different colors, different textures, and select these areas. In this case, what we have here would be 3 different areas. And when we have these areas differentiated, we begin to cut pieces of 1-2 centimeters, whatever, as you want, from the bottom to the top, and putting them in plastic bags, numerate them, and store them. Once we have this first observation, we need to take the central sample of every differentiated area and send these 3, in this case are 3. The number 1 is the middle one of every section. So then we send it and we receive the analysis afterwards. And depending on what we see or what we're looking for, maybe in this first one, there's less of what we're looking for. Maybe there's more here and there's even more here. So we can continue analyzing these other pieces underneath, or we can go to the place and dig deeper. So we can have more deeper samples, and deeper samples are older samples. So we've never dated this, but this is the same procedure that scientists are using in these big old ice blocks in the North Pole and Antarctica and so on. So I'm showing this because if we collect water, we can know what's the composition of that water that passed through in that exact time. We're talking about a river and rivers, right? This is not, I mean, this is not the same if we're talking about a big pool of toxic waste from a landfill, for example, right? So this is the approach we've had in relation to water and rivers. The other case is one I was not involved during the investigation, was my colleague in the INVEC, and was this the Colors Mountain project. Let me show you. It's a huge landfill in the south of Spain. And what I wanted to show about this is there were a lot of leaking in the fields surrounding this landfill, and these leachates, I don't know if I'm saying this in English, but these, yeah, leachates. I think, Janet, if you could say this is a Españolada total or no, leachates, okay. And what they did was to collect a lot of these leachates in bottles of 10 liters and so on. And let me show you here, to carry on a couple of experiments that I think are really nice to do with children, and not only with children, but understanding pollution well, a child understands in relation to the cultural framework and what they know, and pollution is like a weird concept. And if we go to deeper, pollution is not bad by itself. Pollution is bad because it makes us get ill as animals, plants, and so on. But we are concerned because pollution is bad for people, and people die and get sick. But it's not something you can see. You can smell a bad smell, but it's not the whole pollution. There are a lot of types of pollution. So what we did was to grab a set of vegetables, and I can show you first the end of the thing. So the experiment is easy. It's a comparative growing, or cultivo comparativo in Spanish. And what we did was to take these are lactus, our sisters. We bought these 6 lactus in the same place. They were the same size at the beginning of the experiment, and the yellow larval plants were fed with these leachates, sorry, and the 3 at the back were fed with clean water. We bought some commercial water that had this composition in the bottle, so we had some control water and the contaminated water. And as you can see, one of the plants didn't grow, died, and the other looked more like in English, the one that Popeye ate it, and the other looked like this. I mean, we've made this question to children in some fairs or science fairs and so on. We have this picture, and they always say that those are spinach, and the other are lactus. So I don't know. No, it doesn't matter. We have this. I recommend you to go to the colorsmountain.org, but you need some hours to see it, because it's a journalistic, artistic project done with the community affected that are from 2 villages around this big landfill, and all the work has been done with them. And David and Arturo were there, putting their knowledge in relation to audiovisuals and investigation and so on. But yeah, the project is a collective project. Yeah, and that would be basically, I can show you also some pictures from, there's this Collado Villalba is close to Madrid, and there's this Guadarrama River that Alejo knew of, and there's this EDAR, there is a Estación de Depuración de Agua, wastewater purifying station, okay? This called EDAR, are also called in Spain. This is the name of these purifying plants, that they purify the water that is going back to the rivers, correct? So they are at the end of the cities and villages, and water from the houses goes down there, gets purified, and then gets purified when it gets purified, and then goes back to the river. So there's this collector, this place of extraction of this EDAR in Collado Villalba. What we've done is to select 100 meters of the river and work there, and try to apply a little bit all the techniques we have collected in Registro, and more that are in public lab are not in Registro. And one of the things is a basic photographic monitoring. So going back again and again, every 15 days, every month, to the same 3 or 4 trees, in this case trees, you'll see why, and take pictures regularly. It's very easy. The same, taking the temperature and the pH of the water, and doing this mud destruction, using this mud destruction method, and also some balloon and kite photography mapping of the area. When you get there, oh sorry, I need to go down. When you get there, you found these trees that are surrounded. I mean, they look like these protectors of the, I don't know if I'm going, well, honest, 3 minutes I can apart. When you get there, you find these trees that look that are protected, like in the F1, like in car races, that they have these pneumatics painted in white. And yeah, it's more or less the same, but sorry, but I'm not used to use Instagram unless in the computer. Yeah, basically these trees, there's 5 meter high trash in the trees surrounded, in the trees that are just close to the water. This is the workshop we did in Alejo's area, precisely in Cordoba. Sorry, I'm going down a little bit and I'll go back to these pictures. But basically, there's full of trash. And when I say trash, is waste bags, things for cleaning, these wet towels, full of wet towels. And you find it 5 meters, 7 meters in the trees. And you think, how is it possible? How is it possible if the river is down here, 5 meters tall? Well, the thing is that these EDARs are, well, first of all, water doesn't go to the EDARs divided in 3 kinds of industrial, black, gray, and yellow, if you want. But in a lot of places, they're mixed. Water comes to this EDAR even from the streets. So water that's going down when there's a lot of rain, goes to the cloacas, and I mean, that should not have the same treatment as industrial or as a home, gray waters. And they have a maximum of liters they can process per hour. So when there are these big floods, what they do is open up the gates. They remain with the quantity that the station is capable of managing per hour, and they have these 1 million tons of water inside there. There are not these numbers, but 45,000 cubic meters. And if there's more water coming, they pass it through. And that's the thing. The river goes up, the EDAR that is just in front of that. Sorry, I'm going so far, but they are there. opens the gates, and this is the result. I don't know if you can see the pictures big because I did the worst. Yeah, but it's full of trash. It's like a little bit Martian, this area there in Collado Villalba. And this is not an exception, that's the point. I mean, this is the way that macro purifiers, that is the model that is here used in Spain. There's not a tiny network. I mean, people who is opposed to this kind of macro depuradoras, of macro purifiers, are advocating for a network of tiny, well-located purifiers. Yeah, no, so but that's not happening in Spain. But this is the thing, a complete mess, really. Yeah, it's really, look, no, like maybe 1/5 of this we're seeing here is the tree. The other thing is like a helmet of, or I don't know what helmet. No? Well, you understand what I mean. Yeah, this is, I think I can stop here because we can also talk then a little bit about Argentina. And yeah.
Thank you so much, Jose.
Wow, how do I stop sharing my, I don't even find.
It's very interesting, all the things that INVEG and all the information that is collected and show it in the.
I think, stop share.
There is a lot of information of in registro and INVEG.
I don't hear because I think my stuff.
A lot of things that we think right in Argentina that not pass in Europe or US actually pass, actually happen. And
yeah, but I would say, and sorry that I interrupt you, is, I mean, this, I've shown some pictures, some close-ups and so on, but the magnitude is not the same. I mean, I think the magnitude here, even if we are horrorized, or I mean, and things I've seen there, and it's not, and this, sorry, I don't want this to sound like a colonial that is worse there. No, my point is that a lot of things that are happening there because we don't want them to happen here, and magnitude is worse there because we send all there. That's because it was sounding a little bit bad.
No, I understand that it's not also, I mean, it's not a competition of who is more polluted. So we want to find ways to study this kind of problems and to get some solution. But we are we used to see this, I don't know how to say, but when the flooding, the trees become like they have a custom of garbage, something like that. But it's very interesting, all the documentation, all the visualization of the problems that INVEG and Registro are made in. When I was making the presentation for I'm going to give now, I realized that it's so important to get good pictures. When I was doing the presentation, I have not good pictures. Well, I'm very happy to get Jose here. He can teach a lot about this. I'm going to share my screen to tell a little about the Suquía River. The Suquía River is one of the more polluted rivers of Argentina. It's a river that has, can you see the pollution, the pollution, the presentation? I mean, both things.
You can see both, yeah.
Well, I'm going to tell you something and some tools that we are using to detect wastewater on Suquía River. You know, this photograph is from Suquía River. Well, it's quite similar that happened in the rivers that is called was talking about Jose, but the difference is that the wastewater treatment plant, the EDAR, right here in Córdoba City is not functioning. Not when it's raining a lot and there is a lot of water coming through the river, or it doesn't work in never. You know, it has it's broken, and it drained the sewage raw to the river. And then on the right, we have a picture of the Suquía River, a nice place on Suquía River. It has a transparent water. It is a nice place to get a swim a little. But if the wastewater treatment plant doesn't work, that something like this happen. This image is from the downstream from the wastewater treatment plant on Córdoba City. Córdoba City has 1.5 million inhabitants, and this river is not so big. It has 10 square liters per second. For a river is a small river. It's an wadable. I mean, it means that it's a river that you can cross walking. You know, it's a little one. And after the wastewater treatment plant that doesn't work, we have gray water with a lot of organic matter, with a lot of bad smell, and that is a big problem. It's a big punctual problem, but also we have a little diffuse pollution contamination around the city. You know, it's not so punctual. It's not so punctual, but it's a little punctual contamination. In the city is before the wastewater treatment plant or upstream of the wastewater treatment plant. And if you see the river is not so ugly, is a quite good state. But there is a lot of photograph. I mean, there's not a lot of photograph, I'm sorry. There is a lot of drainage, of stormwater drainage, but there is something strange that they have a flowing water even when 2 months before doesn't rain, you know, and then it's strange, and a stormwater drain doesn't have to drain water. Flowing water is not raining, but this water is supposed to be a sewage drain on Suquía River, you know. And we choose this place to study in a little scale what tools could be useful or what tools could not be useful. This drainage has something like this. this drainage become a little creek that comes to the river. And again, this gray water is very probably that is wastewater sewage, like Jesse told in public lab in one question. He answered that one of the things of sewage are this gray water. Another thing is this like a gray hair that grow on the rocks. These gray hair are more very probably to be colony of filamentous bacteria. And that is because the great amount of sewage. And then we decide to prove to test some tools that we are talking about in website of public lab, like a step-by-step activities. And then we choose 3 points on the Suquía River, and we have an upstream effluent discharge, an effluent discharge, and a site that is downstream of the effluent discharge. That is in the downtown of the city, but where you didn't see the river so sick or polluted. But if there is a lot of these points, we assume all this drainage not working not so well, we could have a problem in a big scale. And then the question is there an effluent effect on the river? Well, to test this question, we use the step-by-step activities of public lab. One of them is the APR. APR is a mobile phone application, cell phone app, and it's only available for Android. But if you have an iPhone, you can go to the website of APR, that is a project of citizen science, to use the browser way to use this app, this tool. Also, we wanted to test the tampon activity, and that glows the tampon if there is optical brightness. That optical brightness are very present in wastewater, mainly the water that comes from houses. And also we use the bioindicators activity, in which we made 2 index, but a good quality index and a bad quality index. And well, I'm gonna show you some data. This is something that some results that we have is that the application, the mobile app appear gets some environmental quality value from the evaluation. The evaluation is several questions that anyone can answer, and you can see that upstream and downstream, the environmental quality, because this app does not is focused only in the water, it's focused in the environment in general. And we found that that little creek that becomes from the drainage has a worse environmental quality than the river. The river is not so bad, but there is a lot of garbage. That is a negative aspect that the feedback of the app gives us when we do the evaluation. But in the effluent discharge site, we found also bad smell, and that makes that the environmental quality drops a little in the discharge. On the other hand, with the tampon, we have bad luck. Something happened. We go one day, and the next week we goes there to pick up the tampons. We put the tampons on the water and the first visit to the places, but we don't realize that there was raining a little on the before the days that we goes to the first time to this site, and the river was a little higher, you know. And then when we returned to that place at the next week, the river level has decreased, and then the tampons were outside the water, and we can see if they glow or not glow. And only the tampon that was on the drainage was submerged, in the water, was in the water, but it was not glowing. But we don't know if that tampon not glowing is for there is not optical brightness in the water, or there was too muddy. I mean, there is a lot of turbidity, and they grow like a biofilm around the tampon. Maybe for these places, a week is too much to put a tampon in that place. And for the last, the indicator activity, it give us this information. For the upstream side, the good quality index gives us a 38% in the upstream side. In the effluent discharge, there was a 0% of good quality index. That means that the mayflies, there was no mayflies living in this part of the water, this little creek. Downstream, the good quality indexes recovered to 33%, but it was lesser than 38% the upstream data. And the bad quality index that we calculate with the percentage of bloodworms in relationship of all the aquatic organism that is water that you can see with the naked eye, was the bad quality gives 4% in the upstream side, 21% in the effluent discharge, and 12% in the downstream side. Then we can see with this tool that the little creek that becomes from the drainage has a very bad quality, and downstream the river has a relative not so bad quality, but it's worse than the upstream side. And well, it's one data for sample side, but I think that is an interesting values to see. And also we go to the river with some another kind of proofs to measure some things that are not open tools, but are some variables that are measured usually when water quality is assessed. And what is notably that the discharge has another difference, that has dissolved solids are less than the river. It sounds a little strange, but if the water comes from houses, the drainage comes from houses, the water from the houses has a little dissolved solids that the river brings. But there is not a value so problematic for aquatic life. Also, the same for the pH. pH has a little increase in the drainage, but that level of pH is not problematic for aquatic life forms. And the dissolved oxygen has a drop also in the drainage, a drop that is suggesting that maybe there is a lot of organic matter. Sewage has a lot of organic matter, and maybe that means something like that. And downstream, we have a little more dissolved oxygen than the upstream, but this more dissolved oxygen is maybe because just in that side was a refill. You know, when the river is not so I don't know how to say. It has the column of water is not so tall, and there is a lot of rocks, and then there is a lot of turbulence. And if there is a lot of turbulence, there is more oxygen in water. That maybe is the answer for this difference, for this increase on oxygen. And then
there was Saulo here with the hacking ecology device, and we have some like a tiny jump of water and dissolved oxygen. The conclusion was the same because of that was in a 50 meters area, so there was a mechanic plus of oxygen because of this turbulence and so on. And now I'm not scientist and nothing. I'm talking of what he said. Okay.
Thanks, Jose. Yes, it's more physical than other thing. And well, I'm very happy that these results are related with the Saulo. The Saulo there are very, very sophisticated devices. I'm very happy for that. But I want to share and compare how the open tools that are available in public lab. Tampon, we don't know actually, because the experiment was some problems that we can test enough, but appear detect a drop in quality, in the environment quality, and bioindicator was sensitive also, and can note a difference between drain and downstream, between upstream and downstream. A thing that was not noted, but the typical proofs of variables that are used in aquatic monitoring. Because of that, well, the conclusions was, well, appear and the indicators are useful tools. And well, the tampon, something's wrong, and some things didn't go so well, but we are going to try to test again to see how much time it must be on the water. We have to be aware if it's raining the days before the sampling, don't put a tampon in water. But well, this project continue. Yes, this project continue. We're going to, we want to develop or test new tools, open tools for public lab. And the more important is try to get that these tools get in touch with communities that need them. That is the more difficult thing to do, but we are going to still work with to get that. And this going to continue with public lab with Public Lab, obviously. Vigilantes del Agua, that is a project that study the water quality with high schools in Córdoba, and the IPEA, that is a high school that they suffer the downstream waters of the wastewater treatment plant. I mean, they suffer this kind of water that is on the bottom of the image. Well, that is all that I want to tell you, and we have a little minute to some question. I don't know if who want to talk.
Jeanette, you want?
Sorry, no, that was just applause. Thank you both for yeah.
Okay.
But you can go. I have a question, but you can go first.
No, just it was not a, well, there was a question. There's a question by one side and a comment. The brief comment is that I've seen these tools in the public lab, but I've never heard, seen, or these four tools together. I mean, and testing them together, even if they are not, if they are these tools. APR, that at the end there's no sensors, calibration, there's no nothing. Is you go answering. I can imagine. I didn't use it, but you go answering some questions. There's presence of things on the water, foam. Well, you go answering, but with your knowledge, and that's it. The tampons are the same. You're putting it there, and you get some image. No, people's always using. And it's related to what you said about image before, that people, when you show them a prototype that's taking 1 picture per hour, and they ask, but what do you get with that? What data you get? You just said the pictures. No, but what data? No, it's a camera. It just takes pictures. We want to take 1 picture every hour of the water stream so we can see the changes of water. And it's really simple, no? But it's an image. And it's an image maybe taken by with a camera that is not has no digital negative. I mean, that's whatever camera. Are all tools that are not backed up by the industry or the state, or I mean, you go there. I think I talked last time we met, Jeanette. I was saying almost the same, no, but maybe they don't have value in a trial, but all together show you a picture in figurative sense, not an image of a situation there, and maybe it's not proof, but I think they can be useful to generate a reasonable doubt that something's happening there. No, and if authorities are not working and not acting, to force them and to go from there's a bad smells events in this area to a precise and accurate register, neighbors coordinating to take notes every time a bad odor event happens, taking this data. Every sensor is different, yeah, but we have a bunch of data of people that say that at 6 in the evening is where that thing starts, and all of them are smelling rotten eggs, no? And yeah, they're not pure scientific accurate tools, but all together with some aerial pictures or pole mapping pictures, you can generate this tiny dossier that can force authorities to act or no, but that depends on the cases. But yeah, and the question was if the tampons, because as I said, I come from the law part of the university and so on, and if the tampons can be later analyzed, or because the tampons, if I don't remember what, you put them and then you use ultraviolet light, no? And if they glow, if you can explain a little bit.
Yes.
I don't think if my question is a stupidity. I mean, maybe they are in the tampon, you can, I mean.
Yes, the tampons are put in the water, and then if there are optical brighteners, they absorb to the cotton of the fibers of the tampon, And if you illuminate with UV light, they glow. That is the fundamental of the technique. And
it's fantastic, like the growing thing. I mean, for them, and I was thinking child, because explaining these things to them is quite difficult sometimes. But yeah, I mean, this kind of we can call it as we want, tools or games, no, because it's a tool, but at the same time can be a game for them. And yeah, so nice. Yeah. And it could be that, I mean, has any sense even, because I think this, because what interested me is that you left the tampon there and is like grabbing things that are flowing and then go, no? And it's like like they go they're adding material and toxics to them. It's not just that you because of this, I said at the beginning of the water in rivers flows. So it's interesting, but at the same time can be, I mean, yeah, at a certain point there was a big drop of cyanide and never again, because
yes, I don't know if I understand completely the question, but this stuff, the tampons, they work like a monitor that you left, and something similar occurs with bioindicators. Bioindicators, if the water is not in good condition, actually these insects, they're mainly insects, they don't put the eggs in that place, and they don't develop on larvae or adults, or depends. But it's very interesting because it's not a picture of like the dissolved oxygen that is happening right now. It's something that is recording something by a long time. And this tampon can and the original paper that described the technique, they can absorb optical brightener from 2 hours to 1 month. They could be on the water, but they report some problems about the fouling, the moving. They become dark because all the turbidity of the water. It depends of that.
What I was thinking was basically grab that, do like, and analyze that, or I don't know, put the tampon in, I don't know, lab thingies. I mean, I don't know how do they do this kind of analysis of when you send mud or when you said that. But yeah, this, as it is going from 3 hours to 1 month, you can have that monitor, that thing there, grabbing materials, and then see, let's see what's here. How do we analyze that? That was more the, okay, don't worry. I suppose, yes, this is a little stupid question, sorry.
I mean, you are asking if this could work like a muestreador. Is the word in Spanish? I don't know in English. Yes, I think, I don't know exactly how, but it's very probably that it could be useful for that. I want to, Jeanette, please, it's your turn. You have a question.
Okay, well, hopefully it's a quick one, because I know we're at past the top of the hour. Question for Jose. So the macro purifiers, you say that this is like the macro purifiers? This is like the model of the water filtration?
Sorry, I didn't understand the first word you're saying.
Macro purifiers? Is that what you're saying?
Macro, yeah, the huge. Macro as gigantic purifiers, yeah.
So that is literally what they are. They're just huge purifiers.
Yeah, and and purifiers get in my home city in Galicia. 5 years ago, they destroyed a little bit of the old purifier and make it 3 times bigger. I mean, they're doing it. They're not putting a logic network of tiny or medium-sized purifiers attending these 3 villages. No, they're using a huge one to attend 10 villages. And that increases, I mean, all problems, go bigger as the purifier go bigger, no?
I see, okay. That's okay. And these aren't able to handle the problems that are coming in.
Yeah.
Okay.
And these ones I've shown are Collado Villalba. I don't know, maybe it's 40,000 people. But Vigo, that is, we did a documentary. Well, we never edited, but we did all the production, interviews, and so on of La Ría No Se Vende. There's a network of collectives in La Ría de Vigo in Galicia. And yeah, basically they were doing 3 of the 2 or 3, I can't remember correctly, huge purifiers were being doing bigger, and they're attending 800,000 people. It's not possible to, I mean, one of the guys we interviewed said, there's not even, and he was even against, but it was a little bit radical, against the tiny purifiers, because he was going to the step before. He said, it is not possible and not sustainable. More than 250 people living together in the same area is not sustainable. If you go bigger, it's not sustainable. It doesn't matter what you do, because it's too much together, right? Too much together, poo and industrial waste, and the surface of water that's going there from the streets and so on. There was, he was a little bit radical. I think I'm grateful, and I said, okay, so allow patches, even the tiny ones, no? If we don't reduce the population nucleus.
I have a little question for Jose, and I if you have time, I don't want to press you to stay here. Do you have any minutes? Okay, Jose, I want to ask you if with all this work that IBEC made or Registro, that you make a very good documentation tools and very good images and methods, very well explained. Some of the documentation that you made sometimes were useful to make that authorities or something do something to get the situation of pollution of any place better.
The only case in which we have in parallel there was official procedures, trials, and so on was the Colors Mountain thing. All the other the landfill, but none of the materials were accepted on trial. None of them. That's for one part. All the others simply are in moments that are not. I mean, there's no trial initiated. There's no nothing. To be clear. The other thing, the Colors Mountain project was initially it was not published online. All the materials, and there are hundreds of pages of registering in and outs in the landfill during the night that is absolutely illegal. So they have, and you have this list, huge list of the plate of the car, mark the company, where did it came, what time of going in, and 10 minutes later going out. All this was done by people in the of these villages, and all the materials were publicated until the trial was done in the Tor network, inside the Tor network. So with the, how I say this, with the together with some people from the villages that work inside the landfill, they leaked it to the company owners, that there was this site in the Tor network. You had to use the Tor browser to go in, and there were a lot of pictures. If you go to the project, you'll see there are a lot of pictures, close-up pictures of people working at night. They are pixelated. You don't see clearly, but they know that they are they. And it was like a weaponizing the investigation and pressure putting it in the Tor network. One side, the scope was that people who was doing it was not caught. It's not easy to get the location of a server in the Tor network unless you're the National Security Agency and so on. A tiny polluter in south of Spain has not that power. And the second is that if all the investigation was published in the equivalent of the New York Times in Spain, it's easy to get to the owner of the New York Times and say, this, never again. This is never published again in your journal because you are my friend, or you are the friend of the friend. And yeah, this was the idea, to use it to pressure the pollutants. So there's someone who's looking to us and is writing down all the numbers of the trucks that's going in, has our pictures. They have all this material because it's huge, the archive. They look to make them feel uncomfortable. But that's the most, the best use that one of our investigation has had. Then we also always, we come from photojournalism and media activism and so on, and we always think on the big, the big scope, or what we want to achieve is to close the landfill or to clean the river or stop the pollution of the river. But there are a lot of tiny objectives or tiny objectives that are reachable and make awareness, and maybe we don't get too close. There are fights that are impossible to win, and we have to admit that. There are things that we cannot change. Maybe they change, but maybe not because of our action. But well, it doesn't matter. But we can keep trying and how to do this party when you get some tiny victories. We need to celebrate. That's what I want to say. Not because if don't, we are always like crying and angry, And I'm not saying, let's then. No, that's not the point. But the landfill closed. Look at this. The landfill was closed finally in trial, not because of our images or something. Yeah, but the polluter has gone already to all the people. I think the other day I told this, and has said, okay, you assembly of people of these two villages, if you continue with this, I'll make public that all your lemon and orange fields are contaminated. And that's true, they are contaminated. But they're still selling all this fruit. And the polluter has gone, it's closed, but he's absolutely in control of the situation. And of course, the landfill is still there and probably will never be bioremediated or so on. And all these people will be breathing this shit for generations, because that's going to be there 10 or 15 or 30 years. Maybe they're covering up a little bit, but this kind of non-remediation, we cover up and we put some tubes so gases go out, leachates continue to go down, but we don't see it. No? So basically the answer was no. The short answer to your question was no.
Yes, but there is a lot of things that socially moving this kind of journalism on documentation, and that is, I think, the great or the biggest goal of this kind of projects.
Well, we decided, as we come from photography, we've gone to these places to take pictures and make reportage. So it was known by people outside the place, or maybe authorities did that. We still do it because we've been, taking pictures for several years, but we are now in sharing this tool so they can do it. We won't be able to be there. I mean, we can go to do the reportage each time. And also there's something also colonial in this: go into a place where no one calls you, takes pictures, makes it, maybe they don't want to do it public, or then maybe you do a process of learning on how to take pictures and how to document, and people decide not to do it, to go public because of this thing. Because if they go public, the guy goes public, and all their fields are vetoed. No, not even one lemon gets out of those to the market ever. Yeah.
It's complex.
Yeah, so complex. In this landfill, when we founded the IMBEC, was to get to a grant in Angar. It's the Center of Arts in Barcelona. We were doing this job, and we were doing learning online courses on digital security, how to investigate with private tools, and so on. And we presented this Leptos device that was an air quality device focused on methane, butane, and all these gases that are generated in landfills, because the landfill was closed, but the mountain was still there. So the idea was to develop this Arduino-based device. You can put 3 around or 4 and make a triangulation kind of net of sensors. Finally, sensors they are not $30 sensors calibrated to use with deadly gases. I mean, you can play with it, but you're gonna go to a community and say, okay, you can use my device. And how does it work? Well, it guesses. It can detect 3 gases, and in relation to that, that's a guess that there may be methane. Okay. We discontinued the thing. But in the process, we wanted to add the Giger nuclear radiation module. And they said no. I mean, they said not at all, because they know there are nuclear waste in this landfill. They know it because it is known, because in some jihadi chats and so on, they talk of some landfills in the west and the east part of Spain that could be, places to gather nuclear material to do a dirty bomb. They know it. And they say, if this goes out public, the emergency military unit gets control of the place, and there's no more work, not even inside, not even outside, there's nothing. And they say, no, nuclear waste, nuclear detection, I don't give a shit. The problem we have is that we can breathe at night, because there's a really hot area of Spain, and in summer you're forced to open the windows, but it gets all this methane and this. But don't touch the nuclear thing. Even if they have these numbers of 2-0 reduced numbers in cancer and all these things that are 1 per million, they have 1 per 100,000, but it's their house, they don't have a place to go. But please, this is very bad, but don't make it worse. And there's the economic needs of the people. I mean, they have their lands, their houses, they cannot go like this to whatever other place. Yeah, so complicated. Even there were 3 projects to bioremediate the area, not compatible among them. And the companies began to, all the movement and the strength of the group went and was destroyed because of this, because this one was contracted by one of the companies, one of the other 2 or 3 people, important people in the community, began to, okay, no, better this, better the other one, and began these conflicts, and it's a broken, that was cohesive group, is now not so cohesive, and not even a group, maybe. Yeah. And the mountain's still there, the colors mountain. Yeah. I smile for not trying, as you can understand.
Wow, this is too much for me. Yeah. For the people from there, I can imagine. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm really glad to be here, Jose, to be here, Jeanette, and all I have to say is thanks to be here. Well, I don't know, Jeanette, if you don't want to say any more.
No, just thank you again, both of you. Yeah, really just thank you. I don't know what to say. I'm kind of speechless with the learning what you're doing, and just thank you for working in these areas too, and for sharing all this information so other people can learn as well.
Thanks to you for counting on me. Thanks.
Okay. Well, people, see you later.
Ciao.
Ciao, ciao.